All right. Assalamu alaikum. Peace. I am Coach Nazir. I am solo dolo today. So, what I would suggest or request from you is to let me know if you can hear my audio, put it in the chat so I can know, or a quick thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate that. And I will take a couple seconds to allow you to share and share myself, might I add. That we're going live. And right now, I'm actually going live inside the Outstanding Personal Relationships community, our private community over at oprcommunity.com, as well as opening it up to the public on social media. So if you are watching on Facebook or YouTube, what's up? Assalamu alaikum, peace. Let me know where you are chiming in from, what part of the world, what part of the U.S., wherever you may be. Let me know where you're chiming in from. And today we're going to talk not long, but I want to share some very important information, especially for men who are considering polygyny or are already involved. Just to kind of share some of the pitfalls and the things you have to watch out for, and also some of the challenges that those who want to get in polygyny but should not be need to be aware of. So again, give me a few seconds, but in the meantime, between time, feel free to share where you're from, what your name is, what time zone, what country you're in, what part of the world. And I know, today in the U.S. is what? Indigenous Peoples Day, or Original Peoples Day, formerly known as Columbus Day, mass murderer and rapist. Of course, that's still what the federal holiday is, but yeah, we are here. Bakari, greetings, bro, from St. Martin. I see you. How's everything out there with the weather? Okay. All right. So feel free to share in some different groups, different places, WhatsApp, whatever it may be, to alert other individuals and get some barakah as well. All right. Let me see. Go ahead and share this. I'm in front of the camera and doing the behind the camera work that I usually do for my wives. For those of you whom I have not had the pleasure to meet just yet, my name is Coach Nazir. I am one of the founders of Outstanding Personal Relationships, where I am married to two women. Currently, Coach Fatimah for over 27 years, and I've been practicing polygyny for a little over 12, as I've been married to Coach Nyla now for just over 12 years. And what we've done is we've decided to share some of the wisdom, some of the challenges, and some of the best practices when it comes to practicing polygyny. All right. And I know some people might not be familiar with the word, because the traditional word that we hear more often than not is the word polygamy. And polygyny is a form of polygamy, just to, get some clarification out of the way, because we all know that words are powerful, as I'm still sharing. But polygamy means a person who is married to multiple spouses. That could mean a man married to multiple wives, or a wife or a woman married to multiple husbands. But for specificity and for clarity's sake, polygyny means a man who has multiple wives. Polyandry means a woman who has multiple husbands. And then there's the other common term, or the term is becoming a lot more common, which is polyamory. That's people who have multiple lovers. Doesn't necessarily mean that there are any marriages involved. That just means that people usually have agreements and so on and so forth, kind of an open relationship, if you will, with a number of different agreements, different people. So yeah, doesn't necessarily fall under polygamy at all. Nevertheless, it is a form of poly relationship. So with that being said, today, here's my challenge. My challenge is I have a lot of information in a very short time with which to share it. So as I'm streaming currently to the OPR community and on social media for this time, just know that I am going to be going back and forth, looking at different comments and questions and whatnot, but I'm asking you to trust a short pencil over a long memory any day. All right, well, that's one of the things my mentor told me, because out of all the things you heard yesterday, 24 hours ago, how much of it do you remember? Very small percentage, very small percentage. However, if we take notes, we get our kinetic self to working, but also our audio part to working. So if you take notes, you will be much better off, because if you trust that short pencil, you can go back to it and really absorb it again without having to go over other stuff. Even the crazy part is that science and many different experiences have showed that even just by writing it down, even if you never visit your notes, you still will remember more, just because of how our neurology system is set up. All right, so we got letter B in Vegas. How you be? KS down in Florida. All right, Tafari Sims out in, where you at? Raleigh, North Carolina. RDIJ, North Carolina. See letter BA. Bakari. All right, got you. Good stuff. Now here's the thing. Let me go. I'm gonna start right from the beginning. Again, I've been married in polygyny for a little over 12 years. Now you see us three when we coach and stuff. If you have seen this, if you haven't, our YouTube channel is Outstanding Personal Relationships, as well as our website and our private community is oprcommunity.com. So if you know, I usually have Coach Nyla sitting here, Coach Fatimah sitting here. We may train together, do different things together, or you might just see them two talking and speaking together. However, what you see today, I would consider our chapter 12. All right, if I look at our marriages chapters, in the chapter 12 is much different from our chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, imagine this. You're going to see a movie, right? You're really excited about this movie, and you go in the movie. In the beginning, everything is happy. Everything is going good. In the middle of the movie, everything is happy. Everything is going good. And at the end of the movie, everything is happy. It's going good. And you're going to leave the movie disappointed. Like, what's the point of that, right? Really, there's usually an epic tale, in the beginning there was, or, let's start here, blah, blah, blah. There's tragedy, there's triumph, there's ups and downs. That's the drama of life. That's the drama of life. So in life, wherever you come in and meet someone at, we don't know their backstories. So I'm sharing that with you just to let you know what you see now and today and how we're putting things together is a result of what we are sharing with you. Okay? Because think about it. How many other people that are bold enough and honest enough to share with you about polygyny to begin with, first of all? All right, when it's something that's considered taboo. There are other subjects and topics and alphabet letters and stuff that are more accepting and welcoming now to speak about, where if you speak about them in a negative fashion, you might get banned, you may get censored, you'll get shunned, even though the silent majority wants to preserve the human race. But when we're talking about polygyny, which is simply an ancient form of marriage with much wisdom, it doesn't get talked about. And there's a lot of blame to go around there, because I don't care what your religion is. I'm a Muslim, okay? So I practice Islam. And I follow polygyny as taught to us by the final prophet, Islam. So with that being said, if you have a challenge with that, I have to also ask you to, problem with me being Muslim and stuff and practicing, Islamic polygyny, if you will, polygyny according to Islam. Actually, what would be the problem with that in your mind? I'm pretty sure that there are probably some Muslims that you don't have a problem with them being Muslim and you like, and they make a lot of sense. So if you like Malcolm X, El-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz, rahimahullah, he was Muslim. Or Muhammad Ali, the greatest Muslim. Or maybe other Muslims you want to know today. Let's say Shaquille O'Neal, or one of my favorite comedians, Dave Chappelle. Those are just a couple. Or we can get into music artists. You could talk about, artists formerly known as Loon, or you could talk about Lupe Fiasco. We can go on and talk about a number of different people who are Muslims, who are, mainstream or celebrity or whatnot, or they may practice, some may be more devout in their practice or whatnot. But the issue is not that with Muslims. The issue is that every single scripture, if you are a scripture following individual, or even many cultures, I would argue to say the vast majority have some form of polygyny or polygamy in history. I mean, monogamy is relatively new. And Nancy Cott really breaks that down. She's a PhD professor at Harvard in her book, Public Vows. But my challenge is that if the people who are supposed to be educating us, if the people who know throughout their scripture, whether that's in the Torah, the Old Testament, for example, or even the New Testament or the Injil, or you're talking about the Quran, or you're talking about other scriptures, all of them have some type of form of polygyny. How come our leaders aren't teaching us about it? Well, because it's not popular, because some people don't like it, because they don't want to get hell at home. So what has become much more easy is this other form, even more acceptable, sad to say, of cheating and infidelity. Now, that doesn't mean, you either have monogamy or you just have cheating. No, that's not the point. The point is that all of these things should be taught or should be educated on. And if our religious leaders and scholars and whatnot know that this is the point, then they should be providing practical information, because they know that polygyny still happens. Whether they like it or not, whether it's done right or not. The challenge is, how are you going to learn how to do something right if no one is teaching you and putting it out there? Hence, we formed, again, Outstanding Personal Relationships. So that's how we got there. That's kind of the preface of where we're going to get to at the beginning. Now, I'm going to talk about underestimating and overestimating. So here we go. I get brothers that approach me all the time. They ask questions like, you know what, should I get married first or should I not? Or, you know what, I met this sister and, she's real cool, wants to get married. My wife is on board with polygyny already. She already knows when I got married. Then I get those say she doesn't know. But, as I've grown and I've done this, got established, I want to expand the family, all of these different things, right? The very first thing a man has to ask himself and really understand is, am I equipped? Am I able, where I currently am, to practice polygyny now, as of today? Am I good? Am I equipped? Then, of course, you got to ask the questions that go with that, right? What does being equipped mean? What does that look like? Matter of fact, what does it look like? Usually we get to the, can I handle it financially? Yes, that's absolutely a piece. Can I handle it financially? Can I take care of an extra woman, an extra family? Can I build it? Am I going to be able to provide her with her own stuff? I prefer the Islamic model, Islamic way is each woman have their own homes. So am I, one, able to provide that? Am I financially astute? Is what that comes to. What's my baseline? Now, anybody can desire and want what they want and have their own preferences. Let me make that clear, especially for any women that may be watching. I'd be thinking, well, he doesn't have this, but he wants this. So what? Listen, you could be driving a Toyota Corolla right now and still want a Bentley. There's nothing wrong with wanting or desire. But there's still an ability to have some ambition and to strive for something. So I can't get on anybody with what they want, like, or prefer. But what I can let you know is to take inventory of yourself. Are you qualified right now? If you're not qualified right now, that's not necessarily a problem unless you're trying to act on it right now while you're unqualified. This leads to problems. This goes to overestimating your ability. This goes to what things that we see that are relatively common. So, for example, you get some people that say, you know what, I want to have a baby. Because, as babies, they may have some trauma and things that they've experienced in life. We all go through our things, right? And one of the common things I get, especially when working with at-risk youth and so on, of which I used to be one, girls would say, you know what, these different things have happened and so on. Nobody loves me and everything else. But if I have a baby, that baby's going to love me and depend on me and everything else. So they won't go ahead and have a baby by somebody who's a deadbeat, a bum, or what have you, not getting married, anything else. And they think that this baby is going to be, that's going to solve their problem of loneliness and fill this void. No, it's not. Not at all. That baby's an independent individual that's going to be striving for independence until they reach that age. Okay? So similarly, marrying somebody else or deciding or moving on polygyny, like, you know what, that's going to give me the ambition to build because I know I'm going to have to take care of another woman. No, bro, it's backwards. That's all the way backwards. Getting yourself together and working on yourself first is the most important part, because then the next question goes to, you know what, where do I find women that are down with polygyny? Bro, listen, you really think that they just congregating around like a bunch of women just all around like, yeah, I'm with polygyny. Oh, you know what? Me too. Let's hang out and go to the movies. Like, what? You're not going to find a place that women, at least a place that I know of, where women are just like, yeah, I'm down with polygyny. Like there's a community or a city or a certain area and stuff like that. No, not really. Quite the opposite, especially with social conditioning, social constructs, the way they're set up right now. However, what you will find is that women are attracted to men who are strong men. Not just physically strong. I'm not talking about physically, which you should be physically strong regardless. You can't be getting, you should be physically strong. Let's leave it at that. All right, that's a part of it, right? It's part of your manhood. But there are certain qualities that are attractive, which means they attract. Similar to magnets, you have magnets that repel, you have some that attract, right? And there are preferences and characteristics that women put above necessarily your looks. You don't have to be the best looking man. You can be an average looking, even a below average man, but have certain characteristics of confidence. Your financial acumen is there, your intelligence. These basic things are attractive. Attractive, meaning that you forming and building yourself will attract. All right? Doesn't matter if you're married. It doesn't. In our society today, there are women who are putting people up on game about how to mess around with married men. They prefer married men. It's immoral as hell, yes. But it's a whole thing. All right? And to believe it's not is naive. When you think about groupies, who are they? I haven't really seen a bunch of male groupies, yelling and screaming at a Beyonce concert and trying to just, groupies and so on. The whole thing, baller alert. We know what it is in society. But the point is becoming a more attractive man and what that looks like. So, of course, your financial acumen is part of it. But women don't hang out. You have to attract women. Now, that doesn't mean you just sit back and just, work on these certain skills. And if you don't know, like on the bottom of your screen right now, if you want to get the ebook I just released, it's a polygamy roadmap for men. This is the one that's for men. There's also one that my wives did for women. But if you go to polygamyroadmap.com, you break it down, put down 5 requisites that are very important when it comes to practicing polygyny and building yourself up before you even make that move. If you don't know how to give yourself a report card or be objective and disassociate from your emotions and you will think you Superman. You think you just ready. Someone shows some interest in you and you're already married. And all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, you know what? Okay, you keep working and this one won't have to work and we'll do this. And you think that they're not going to have a problem or she's not going to have a problem with that? Maybe initially it may not be an issue, but are you the type of man when they say you need to be more than twice the man to practice polygyny? Is that you? Because what I'm getting is, you know what, bro? There's a sister that's really interested in stuff like that. So when they got married, she's working, she's doing all this and that. I haven't told my wife and stuff yet, but I'm trying to work on getting my money and da-da-da. Okay, cool. Here's the thing. First of all, no, that's not cool. But here's the thing. This has already happened. So what are you doing regarding your leadership and your emotional aptitude? How are you able to communicate effectively? So that now, instead of stonewalling, instead of shutting down, instead of getting defensive, you're able to say, look, we have to have this difficult conversation. My wife talks about all the time about having hard conversations. Me, I'm an introvert. I'm speaking to you because I would have appreciated some information and guidance like this about a dozen years ago before I got involved, a little over a dozen years ago before I got involved in polygyny. But I have a responsibility to the community to share some wisdom as these hairs get a little more gray. So are you able to have that difficult conversation? Me, I didn't want to do that. I'd rather practice avoidance. I don't like conflict. If I get upset and something like that, I don't like that. I don't like these feelings of getting vulnerable on certain things or having to hear somebody mouth and they whining, but you're trying to take care of and been taken care of. That's a very difficult conversation to have. If it's someone that you love, and usually you love your wife, you're already married in monogamy, you love your wife, you've been with her, she has expectations, all these different things are shared, right? It's not easy to necessarily have a conversation. And I just realized I forgot something, at least for Facebook and YouTube. I need to do this intro as we are here. So give me a second. I'll be back as I'm over talking right now. But give me a second. I forgot to do this. I told you I'm in front of the camera and behind the camera. So got to go and do our little intro. Be right back. All right. And we're back. So if you're not able to have a conversation, things are going to be very difficult. But what are you doing to work on this? See, one of the things the women they think that men don't have emotions, right? Because we don't really share them often. And our sharing doesn't look like yours. Can you imagine that a man is built with the same type of emotional structure as a woman? Imagine when it's time to battle, you have your sword out, you're on the battlefield, and you think it's time to have a discussion. Now, diplomacy is supposed to happen before getting to war. Diplomacy is supposed to happen before that. You have to be able to bury that because that's seen as a weakness. And I'm just talking about bare bones facts when it comes to that person who's supposed to provide and protect. He's supposed to be out there and be vicious. And the man should be an absolute monster against his enemies. That has to be able to be built up or should be able to be built up in you. And what that looks like in modern times, and just this modern times where, there's drones going on, different types of war stuff happening, that looks like Sundays. That looks like Sundays, any given Sunday right now during football season. So during football season, that even watching football, it's not only a testosterone thing, but it not only builds your testosterone is what I mean, but you get to see this. You get to see, if you ever been around a man, I remember being around my father when I was young, single digits, watching football together and stuff like that, and get excited and all the way up and yelling and so on and so forth. That's man stuff. All right, that's man. That's the closest that most people will get to a real battle. All right, being able to take somebody down, knock them out, hit them hard, all that kind of stuff. All right, at least American football. All right, rugby and all the rest of that stuff on the other side of the planet, maybe. But I'm giving it just that example. Can you imagine? You're there, you have to get something done. There's this other person standing in your way, and you want to talk it out, and you just want to share how you feel about something. It's not going to work. We're different, and it's okay. We're supposed to be different. But as a man, we have to be able to feel safe enough and good enough and important enough to be able to share some information, let you know what it is, and then we have to be smart enough to know how to deal with reactions and responses. I get brothers that are like, look, man, I don't care. I'm just going to do such and such and blah, blah, blah. She's going to have to deal with it one way or the other. Okay, I hear what you're saying, bro. I hear what you're saying. But the fact of the matter is, the reason you haven't told her something because you know it would hurt her. All right, it will likely hurt her in many marriages. Some women already get about it from the jump, but those aren't the ones that are having challenges with talking about or at least discussing plans with polygyny. So if it's going to hurt her because you love her, clearly you don't want to hurt her. You're there to protect her and provide for her. But how do you open up and have this type of conversation? How do you get to the real and say what it is? Because one of the first things is, why? Why do you want somebody else? Am I not enough? And they can go to extremes, right? It has nothing to do with it. It's really the way we're built. You could be you could be people's dream women, dream woman. I don't care who you are. You're watching this right now. You can probably think in the last few weeks, Nia Long, a lot of people like her, right? They just think she's the bomb for whatever reason, whatever. She's not married to a guy who cheated on her. So it's this whole big scandal. Like, first of all, you're not even married. You don't even have that commitment. So my guy, I think he's Nigerian. He cheats on her with a married woman. It's a Mormon. They just released her name with married women, right? So he cheated on her with at least 2 women that were part of the Celtic staff. They, it was already well known, but they wanted to get rid of the man. Anyway, forget the politics. The point is, this Nia Long, and people are like, how could you cheat on Nia Long? Dude, Nia Long is not a Beyonce. Did Beyonce get cheated on? I mean, come on. You got Lemonade and 444, 2 albums that came from that experience, if you will. So it's not the woman. It's not like, oh, you're his everything. You could never be his everything. He could never be your everything. All right, so we got to get out of that mindset, first of all, and be real with each other. But at the same time, this person that you're married to, that you're talking about you're going to provide and protect for, you're concerned that she's going to feel hurt. But how do you deal with that as a man? What are you doing to increase your emotional aptitude? What are you reading? What audiobooks are you listening to? What courses are you taking? What questions are you asking? Are you like me, you're an introvert, where if somebody gets to talking, they got about 30 to 45 seconds to get to it, or else I'm going in my mind somewhere else, or I've thought about it 20 different ways in my mind, and I've evaluated all these different prospects, all these different things, and I'm ready to give a solution. But many times when women are speaking, they don't want to get a solution. They want to feel heard. So do you know that? And are you allowing them to feel heard? Now, this is not the type of video either. This is not one of them busted videos by like DJ, a lot of people's favorite simp, Derek Jackson. And I say simp in the fullest sense of the term, where he's just going to get on there and talk about the men, and men haven't done this, and women, oh, you do so much and you're so great, and da-da-da, and forget polygamy and yada, yada. Monogamy is the bomb. And then he's cheating on his other wife. He's cheating on his wife and, getting people pregnant and all kind of crazy. This ain't that. That's the version of a male pick-me, if you will. I'm being real, speaking to the men, because if I'm not going to call you out, who's going to do it? Usually, your religious leader not even going to talk about polygyny. He may have plenty of girlfriends, people on the side. I'm being real. I don't care if you're a Jesse Jackson and you got babies on the side that come out because now you want to run for political office, or you a Herschel Walker, which is currently in the news, where you want to run for office, and guess what? Your illegitimate bastards come out and get used against you. We can go on and on about people in positions of power, men in particular. Whether it's the Bill Clintons, it's the Bill Gates. We can go on and on and on about this thing. Or Pastor Jimmy Swaggart, or Muslims, you got Tariq Ramadan. You have a whole bunch of people. You got Pastor John Gray. They're all over the place. But here's the thing. Polygyny makes you responsible for your pleasures. So you have to understand something. Monogamy is not there to protect women, it's to protect men. You have one legitimate wife, legitimate. Others are bastards if you have other children. So you are only responsible for this right here. That may make you feel comfortable or comforting, but it requires you to be more of a man when you practice polygyny because there are additional responsibilities that you have to handle as a man. So taking inventory, do I have my money up? What's my money game looking like? How am I dealing with things emotionally? These are the two biggest challenges and issues that you're going to face in marriage to begin with, even in monogamy. But in monogamy, you only have one other person, so you can have that struggle love and struggle together, do whatever you want to do. But when it comes to polygyny, there's a higher bar that must be met. And when you qualify for that, meaning that, yes, you are emotionally intelligent, you're striving, you get your money and stuff together and everything else, that becomes that much more attractive. It does. So what are you doing now? What are the last 5 books you read? What have you read on leadership, team building, building culture? How do you want it to look? What's the vision that you have for your family? Are you building on legacy or you just want to collect women? Because there are those men too. You know, the predators. Those who want to prey on you, not prey with you. If you understand what I'm saying. So they look at women as prey. So they have a revolving door of 15, 20, 30 wives. You know, married for a month, 2 weeks, 6 months, so on. So what are we doing? And if we aren't doing, meaning you're in motion, you're already taking action, then that's a problem. You could think about polygyny, you could fantasize about polygyny, all of that stuff, whatever. But the fact is, what are you currently doing and working on? Because your life is capped. I meant to get this. What's that? Yeah. Put it in my office. All right. It's an hourglass, right? Your life is like that hourglass. Time is already passed. You can't go back and get it. There's only a limited amount left. How much more time are we going to waste? See, a brother had mentioned some stuff, and I said, you have to be man enough to practice polygyny. And he's like, man enough? Like, what does that mean? And, how insulting is this? I'm like, bro, I was answering a question that was posted by a brother. And he got all offended. I'm like, bro, you got to be man enough to handle it. We were talking about the risk of your provisions. And your risk, your provisions are limited. It is what it is. It's already limited. However much you're going to make during your lifetime is already known. That's already set. Now, we don't know that amount, but Allah Ta'ala does. It is what it is. That doesn't mean you don't try, you don't take effort. But it does mean that if you ain't taking effort, you shouldn't be even trying to pursue something that requires more of you for fear of failing. Because there's a serious responsibility with family. For me, my family consists of 12 children. Excuse me. Now, some of these children are adults. Okay. But still, from us 3 came 12 children. 10 are biologically mine. I have 2 bonus children. So children ranging from 27 years old down to 4. That's a serious range. But what I wanted to do is change my entire life. And I had this vision of how things were going to go. Now, I didn't know or wasn't even intending on practicing polygyny when I first got married. Didn't know anybody that practiced it. That wasn't even on my mind. I just wanted to make sure I was right. I had this new religion, this new life, and so on. I wanted to build and move in a certain direction. I was married 15 years before I chose to practice polygyny. And it wasn't an easy transition. So the 2 things I gave you, 1, what are you doing so far as your money? If you haven't already watched and studied The Hidden Secrets of Money by Mike Maloney, why not? I've been talking about it for a while. If you're brand new, if this is your first time, welcome. Hoş geldiniz. Ahlan wa sahlan. All right. So, Hidden Secrets of Money. If you haven't at least got the #1 financial studying book of all time, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and dug into Robert Kiyosaki's works, why not? Get the audiobook free on YouTube. I like physical books better, but you got to go audiobooks. It's good too. Getting the information and being able to implement it is what matters. Play the game, cash flow quadrant or cash flow 101. And then more advanced 202. Because he talks about the markets right now. When markets are going down, that's the time to build and create wealth. When it goes up, everybody looks good and looks like geniuses. But only those who are intelligent, sophisticated investors make money when it's going down. So even though it looks red, you still can make green or gold. But that's a different topic. Then again, what are you doing on your emotional end? How are you leading? If you're not in John C. Maxwell, come on, why not? Whether it's 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership or any of his other leadership books, or communication books. Why not? Then we come to, okay, let's say you are in those places. Excellent. Are you communicating with other people who are already successful in these different areas you look to be? See, one of my mentors told me a long time ago, and I understand it now. Now, before I forget, I need to say lagging measure so I remember it. Makes it much easier, but it's a lagging measure. So my mentor told me, listen, if you look at success, however you gauge it, there are three things that are going to help you better than anything else. And I found this to be true. He said, the books that you read, so I don't care if you're talking about books or audio books or courses, whatever, the books that you read will make a difference 5 years. Again, we underestimate what can happen in 5 years, but overestimate what can happen in 1. But in 5 years, the books you read will have a big impact on you. One of the most deep impacts on you, most profound. The books that you read. 2, the audios you listen to. The audios that you listen to. What are you listening to? Are you listening to, music? Just waste your time, bubblegum for your ears? Or you listen to people that have more wisdom than you and they're dropping new concepts and ideas on you, where you wish you could sit at somebody's foot and learn from those who already been there and done that, because they have. Many of these are audiobooks, audio courses. What are you listening to? So he said the books you read, the audios you listen to, and the third thing are the people that are in your circle, the people you hang around. Are they lifting you up? Are they helping you expand your vision? Or are they choking it? That's the question you have to answer. Those 3 things. So when I ask you, what are you listening to? What books are you reading? Because if we are always in a constant state of progress, because if you're not going up, you're going down. There's no neutral. See, here's the thing. When I understood this concept, and this comes from Atomic Habits by James Clear. Very, very good book. I think you need to get it ASAP today. If you don't have it, get it. It's crucial. Life-changing stuff. 2 books. Mindset by Carol Dweck and Atomic Habits by James Clear. If you haven't started something, do those now. If you have started something, put those as in next and very, very important. And then you'll thank me later. And if you already got it, let me know in the comments that you already have. So here's the other part. X is the lagging measure of Y. This is a very simple formula. It's a lagging measure of Y, dealing with your thoughts. So let me give you an example. If you are morbidly obese right now, so if you are X, morbidly obese right now, it's a lagging measure of your dieting habits or your beliefs about diet. Lagging measure. If you are broke right now, it's a lagging measure of your financial acumen, of what you're doing financially. Your thinking. All this comes back to your thinking. And it's a lagging measure in real life. So if you're out of shape, you're fat right now, the beginning of this year, 10 months ago, people were like, oh, New Year's resolutions, blah, blah, blah. And they'll be doing it again in a few months, right? So think about this. If it's a lagging measure, that means you got to go back to see what happened. If you're morbidly obese right now, morbidly obese, I don't know what they consider. I think obese is like 30 pounds overweight or something like that. Over 30 pounds overweight. So you can be overweight, then obese, and yada, yada, whatever the scale says. But it's a lagging measure, which means that time has went on, but you're still making the same decisions over and over and over that are not benefiting you. So if you want to practice polygyny, you've been talking about for the last 6 months or for the last 6 years or whatever, but you're still not capable financially, you're not intelligent emotionally, then it's a lagging measure of what you are not doing. That's not acceptable for a man. As a man, we have to be going and moving forward, demonstrating value, getting things done. You want to be attractive as a man? I told you. Increase your leadership, your confidence, your communication style, increase your core values. So as a man of value, I don't like the high value man term. I thought it was trash to begin with because I looked at people that I knew that had plenty dough, considered high value, that were trash. So my mentors married multiple times, just out there bad, crazy, all kind of dough coming in. But the lifestyle and the family, garbage. Trump, is he a high value man? Nah, man of value. That's a term that I like, been using for quite some time. Nevertheless, that's a personal opinion. Like most of what I'm saying. But the fact of the matter is, success can easily be defined as your daily disciplines practiced daily, again, daily disciplines over time. That is what leads you up. Failure can be defined as bad decisions done daily over time. So being morbidly obese is a lagging measure. That means you making bad decisions on a daily basis when it comes to your health. It's not about a lack of information. We have plenty of information about how to eat, high fat, low carb, keto, for example, one of the best things out. We got how to exercise, whether it's a HIIT workout, whether it's getting to a gym a certain amount of time, hitting a certain amount of steps. We have devices that can track our steps and let us know to get up, stretch, move. We have more information now at the tips of our fingers, at the tap of a device than we've ever had throughout human history, yet America's still the fattest place and fattest people on the planet. We know more about processed foods, know about sugar as a drug and lighting up the same parts of your brain as cocaine does than we ever have. We know cores of the core issues and problems and challenges. But what are we doing about it? So it's not that we don't know what to do. It's just that many times we don't do what we know. Similarly, when it comes to confidence, when it comes to increasing your financial acumen and opportunities that are out there, they are everywhere, especially now in a bad economy. Especially now. But what you going to do about it? So with that being said, I'm going to fall back. I've been asking a lot of questions and been talking, and a lot of people been here. So if you have not already chimed in, comment, let me know where you chiming in from. What part of the U.S., if you in the U.S., what part of whatever country or island or part of the planet you chiming in from. You have some questions. I'm going to be here to answer them for a little bit before the family gets back. So let me know what's up. All right, I'm going to go through some here. And if you are in the community, I'm streaming in 2 different places. I'm in the Outstanding Personal Relationships community and in the, Facebook and YouTube. So, again, Bakari, what's going on from St. Martin? Letta in Vegas. Got Florida in the house. Raleigh-Durham University or Raleigh-Durham area, North Carolina. Is that what it is? All right, Bakari taking notes. Alaikum salam. What up, salam? Nura. Women want to feel safe and secure and emotional intelligence. What she say? She say KS. And availability is extremely attractive for them. I'm telling you. That doesn't mean you're a punk about it. That just means you are attractive, having that intelligence and availability. Loretta, what's going on, sis? Alaikum salam. What up, to love to get to. Zaima says, polygyny makes men take responsibility for their pleasures. The hidden secrets of money. This is excellent and fundamental. Oh, she was taking notes and sharing with everybody else. Appreciate you, sis. All right. Bakari, struggling to Wendy's with us from Connecticut. Hamza is with us from Chicago. You in the South Burbs. Out there with my guy Solid them. All right. I guess I need to let you know how to ask questions. If you have any questions or comments to something you want me to chime in on, then put some question marks in front of your statements, and I will do my best to address it. Let me see. Oh, you know what? I do want to share something with you that I almost forgot. Oh, by the way, get the polygamy roadmap. Go to polygamyroadmap.com. Get that. You get the men's one or get the women's one. That's fine. But this weekend, we are going to be filming our live polygamy masterclass starting this Saturday. So we got Saturday, Sunday, and going on from Saturday, Sunday until we're done. There are 5 parts in each. So if you're interested in really learning more and going deeper on it, then you want to chime in. I'm going to be doing the men's polygamy masterclass, and my wives, of course, will be doing the women's polygamy masterclass. Information and details, of course, can be found at polygamymasterclass.com. Of course, even make stuff simple. Go to polygamymasterclass.com. And of course, they do coaching and counseling as well. I do coaching, but my coaching is not open again until next year, inshallah. I do have some questions from the private community. So let me see. But before I do that, I do want to share something with you. This is a very important thing to understand when it comes to marriage. Was this the one? Let me see. Yeah, this is simple enough. All right. Hopefully you can see that. I know in the community, let me put this up and share it as well. All right. Here's this thing. So sometimes women ask and men ask, when I talk about having the hard conversations, because they haven't talked about polygyny. All right. And you should have this conversation. It's very important. Sometimes you don't know who you, as a man, you don't know who you married. All right. You don't know, sometimes you don't know who you marry until situations happen and occur. All right. So whether that's polygyny, whether that is coming traveling or doing business together, sometimes people say, you really don't know who you're with or who a friend is, something like that, till you travel with them or till you do business stuff with them. So you can be dealing with some unresolved trauma. And I think unresolved trauma and unresolved issues are far more common than we think. Unresolved mental health issues, to be more specific. But this right here is very important. When you first get married and you see that there are three circles, there's three spheres right here. The bottom will represent a woman, the other side will represent a man. And when they get married, it kind of creates this third circle, or third circle or sphere, if you will. That third one is the shared marital identity. Now, here's the thing. Before they get married, you have the man's, his individual identity. It is what it is. You're a man. You're doing your thing. You have your likes, your dislikes, all of this type of stuff. Same as for the woman. She has her likes, dislikes, preferences, all of this stuff. But when you get married, here's the thing. You do not become one. You don't become one. I know some religious, speak that, and the two should become one in the flesh. No, you don't become one. You join, absolutely. You want to do one family, one umbrella? Yes, but you do not become one. You are still two individuals who have a commitment to each other. All right, their roles and their rights and responsibilities. But here is the challenge. Many times, women tend to give up more of themselves and their identities as this wife. I've seen a few different pranks, right? It's where the guy is supposed to slip up and say that he calls his girlfriend his wife, calls his girlfriend's wife or wifey. Right. So he's on the phone, he's doing a prank, and then, it's being recorded, of course, because it's a prank. He's like, nah, I'm at the drive through with wifey, blah, blah, blah. And the girl is though she melts. She's like, oh, and all, like every single time. Of course, that's what the prank is, right? But you will see these women like melting and they all want to be wives. They're not. They're girlfriends. Usually girlfriend and boyfriends, they placeholders until the real person comes along, right? For that commitment. But that's a whole nother discussion. But that's a boyfriend, girlfriend thing, and this whole thing. And there's, oh, yeah, I'm out here with my wife, blah, 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 blah. And then she like melts it. Oh, I love you, and all this type of stuff, right? Well, here's the thing. You don't lose your identity, but usually women are doing, men don't be like, they don't do that. Like, oh, you're just my husband. And he's like, oh, it's so sweet, baby. It's not how that operates. I mean, it is what it is, but it doesn't operate like that. You're not going to get the same prank in reverse. You know what I'm saying? There are different responsibilities that come along with husband and wife stuff. Other stuff is easier, it's immoral, but it's easier. You can just walk away. You could break up. When you make this commitment from these witnesses and everything else, you got a responsibility. And as a man, you're supposed to be handling your responsibility in an efficient and proper way to be still looked at as a man in society. All right. But when I say that women usually give up more of their identity, they give their identity for the wife and all stuff for the husband. So what happens is that there's a lot more of the woman giving up her identity, so that when a man says, I'm going to practice polygyny, I want to marry again, things begin to quake inside of her because she put so much in this wife identity that she left behind a lot of her own individual identity and her likes and dislikes. Then it becomes, I wonder what he's doing with his other wife. Oh my God, how can I think about, what he's doing with her that he does with me? And he's saying these things, he's touching her and blah, blah, blah. Her entire identity seems to be wrapped up and lost in this man, her husband, who wants to practice polygyny. And she thinks that she has nothing left. Becomes very insecure. Think, oh, now something's wrong with me and all kinds of stuff. All right, there's a lot of things that can happen here when you don't understand that this is a shared marital identity that's created once you get married. Now, once you're married, here's the other part. When you don't have the hard conversations, there's a whole lot of assumptions. Some of them are correct. These are social constructs. I mean, the marriage kind of, it's a social construct where you say, okay, well, I'm married to this other person. That means that's the only other person I'm having sex with. Now, let me ask you, on your block, where you currently live at right now, are there married people? Probably. Are there other people that they may be having sex with? Maybe. At least I know on my block in the U.S. that was like, yeah, of course. I mean, it's a given. It's no surprise. People having affairs, they cheating and doing all kinds of stuff. All right. It's immoral. Yep. But it's happening, right? It'd be nice if, okay, you're married. Okay, great. There's no infidelity, none of this and that. I mean, you wouldn't have famous shows like Maury Povich's show, for example, if people were, committed to people they're in relationships with. I mean, it is what it is. But part of this shared marital identity means that there's an expectation that man usually is going to provide. He's going to protect the woman. He's going to protect the family physically. He's going to protect their attitude. Going to protect their reputation. He's going to protect stuff that may harm the family. This is part of just our normal social socially understood responsibility. And the woman's supposed to preserve hers and, take care of the husband, and the family takes care of her. It works both ways. There's children that come in, all this stuff. This is the, kind of the ideal thing or idea, right? But if you don't have that idea or understanding when it comes to polygyny in particular, which is simply another form of marriage and expanding your family, then your shared marital identity may become fractured. So having that difficult conversation is essential. I don't care if you are single, especially if you're single, you should have a conversation. If you already know that you're a polygynous man that will be open probably to exploring polygyny or seeing something like that down the line, you need to make that known. If you're in marriage, already married and didn't think about it, and there was no talk before marriage, you should talk about it. And guess what? Any of you can bring it up, the man or the woman. Don't think that, because you know what? If I don't bring up polygyny to my husband, he'll never think about it. Wrong, for real. He ain't gonna think about it. Had a conversation. Be able to control yourself, to breathe, to discuss it intellectually, to take a break if you need to simply say, all right, look, I'm going to lose this conversation with my woman because she usually talks more than I, as many women tend to be a little more vocal than men. Watch one of our videos. Watch Coach Fatimah's video. She was like, you know what? Here's some signs that your husband might be looking for another wife, or might want to practice polygyny, or having a conversation. Or watch the video I have, Walk Through the Fire, bro. Some of you are married and your wife might have an idea or sneaking suspicion, but doesn't want to bring it up. And you have a whole nother wife and stuff going on in the whole family. Nah, you got to walk through that fire, bro. Like, what are you doing? Sure, you might not necessarily want to show her that video, but she needs to show you that video. But have the discussion. That's where it starts. Open it up. You got to peel some layers back. Going to polygamy roadmap again, you get some more details and stuff on that. But I want to touch on this because it's very important. Because if you don't have an understanding here, you may be, living the result of somebody's childhood. Were you in a household that just yelled and screamed all the time? You're in a household that was violent all the time. So if somebody gets thrown up against the wall, that's just normal. That's expected. Or you get the other one that's like, you know what? Somebody walk off and just go take a walk in the middle of a conversation. And the other person's like, what the hell? We supposed to just argue and yell it out. You leave it. That's a whole level of disrespect. What are you doing? And you live in this because you haven't had these conversations. It's not easy, but it's not supposed to be easy. It's supposed to be worth it. So anyway, let me get to these questions. So Zaima says, let me pull this up. If you are potentially going to be a second wife and you've agreed to marry by contract, but not consummate until the future date when you will be able to notify the first wife, this in order to be able to spend time alone, is that suggested? Would you encourage it? Okay, let me read it again to get some clarity. You're potentially going to be a second wife. And you've agreed to marry by contract, but not consummate until the future date when you'll be able to notify the first wife. This, in order to be able to spend time alone, is that suggestion? Would you encourage it? I would encourage that he had the conversation with his first wife before the marriage. I mean, once you get married, you can't just withhold, like, well, we have to wait until she finds, you don't give power to somebody else. She's either going to agree or disagree or like it or not or what have you. But minimally, if he's married to somebody else, show her the common courtesy and respect to have the conversation that I'm talking about. All right, especially if you're already in this negotiation part of agreeing by contract and so on, but you try to make it a condition of notifying the first wife before in order to spend time alone. That's not suggested just because it allows the man not to step up and to be who you want to be from the beginning. So if he doesn't do it, he wants you, you're lawful for him, you want him, he's lawful for you, and you want to hold off on that. And it just that's problematic. I'll put it like that. That's problematic. And it's not easy. And then let's say you do it, and all of a sudden, you decide to go ahead and, bypass that part of this agreement. Then what? You know what I'm saying? She still hasn't been told. That doesn't, it doesn't satisfy the part. I wouldn't encourage it at all. Encourage to have the conversation, and get through it, because you're going to have to get through it regardless. Like, you're going to do it or you're not. One of the things that men have to recognize is part of courage is being able to make the decision that's best for your family. Not just, not necessarily just best for you, but best for the fam. What's my goal? What's the vision? What is the overall thing I'm doing? If you have the ability, I'll give you an example. Since we look at resources and of men and people, look at a LeBron James. No, let's look at let's look at Steph Curry. Since he's the number one, he's the highest paid player in the NBA, and it's really not a good example. It's really not, because his wife, yeah, it's not a good example. But let's just say that he had a wife that was just only with him sexually, and so on, and they had a traditional marriage. Would it be far-fetched to say that this man has the means? I mean, I think he just got $1 billion contract with Under Armour. Under Armour, $1 billion. Ridiculous. With Under Armour, right? This one man, this one woman, assuming that, she just stayed just only with him, which is not the case according to them, or either of them. But I'm just saying, as a man that's bringing in that amount of dough and has that amount of resources and so on, would that be something that's looked at as far-fetched or wrong to think that this man that can provide and be there for his family, that apparently tends to be a family man, at least with what he displays with his children, to have, let's say, 4 wives at one time, meaning married to 4 wives simultaneously, own homes, own things, we can see all these resources. We don't know them. You see them as celebrities and see them from a distance, despite their relationship status that get put all over the place. But is that unreasonable? Somebody that has all these resources? Nah, there's probably other women that'd be like, I'm good with, let's do it. I'm with it, right? All over the place, there are women that it's not. There probably would be. You could be on the bench and not even play the game with Golden State Warriors, and you're still the groupies. They all over the place. But would that be unreasonable? I don't think so, and I think we pretty much can see that. So having that conversation is crucial. And if you don't have those resources, you don't have them financially, you don't have them physically, you have those emotionally, then that's what leads to oppression. Nevertheless, let's get to Sister Colleen asks, what approach should the husband take when the first wife is constantly attacking the other wife or the wives? All right. This is the general question. Okay, so it's you can't really pinpoint anything specifically. However, it does lie mainly with the protector. Who is the protector? The husband. The husband has to protect from those enemies, both foreign and domestic. In this case, it's domestic, it's within his own household. So I know some brothers is like, it's just a headache, gotta go back and forth. And I don't want to say this, because as soon as you say this over here, it's going, you're leaning in favor of her, taking her side. No, I'm not, blah, blah, and all of that, right? So over here, you can be like, you're taking her side. Over here, you're taking her side, letting her attack me. And you're trying to, it goes back and forth. It's really a headache. All right, but it's the man's responsibility to kind of lay down his expectations of what he's going to accept and not accept. That includes, again, man, working on your emotional intelligence, increasing your leadership skills. Now, how that happens, constantly attacking the other wife or wives. I'm assuming, could be wrong. I've seen stupid stuff where I'm assuming that this is verbal. This is like a verbal sparring going on. This is not like one is physically attacking the other wife. I hope that's not the case. Though it can and does happen occasionally. All right. Of course, if it's something physical, he got to get in there physically. When it's something verbal, he got to lay down his leadership rules and have a code of honor with how his family is going to be operating. Because it's still his family on both sides. I don't care if you've been married for 2 days and somebody's been married for 20 years. They're equal. You had this playing field, that's equal. You're still the man. You got to lead your family. Now, is it easy? No. Dealing with multiple wives sometimes can be like herding cats. Herding cats ain't easy. And I love cats, highly intelligent. But herding them, trying to get them to listen, can be a challenge. But that's what we signed up for as men. You got to be able to work with that. When it goes with increasing your communication skills and ability. And should that be violated, there being some type of consequences or repercussions, if that makes sense. All right, so with that being said, let me go ahead and move. Just said I'm happy I said that. No worries. Let me see. All right. Got a few more minutes. So Wendy says, what did she say? Let's bring it up. She says, what if your husband is talking to a potential second and they spend a long time together and plans to be intimate before marriage, but she wants to wait over a year before discussion of actual marriage? Oh, I need some clarity on that, sis. I don't understand what you are saying there. It says, what if your husband is talking to a potential second and they spend alone time together and plan to be intimate before marriage. But she wants to wait over a year before discussion of actual marriage. So, oh, you saying she's trying to test drive? She's trying to test drive him for a year? Trying to see if he's good for a year before marriage? Like, what is that? Where do they do that at? Husband talk to a potential second wife and will spend the time alone together and do the good. And then she wants to wait over a year before even talking about marriage. That to me, again, it depends on what your moral compass and everything is. To me, that doesn't make any sense. What's the point? You know what I'm saying? We pro morals. So marriage is a form of that protection of your private parts and the sanctity of the family. This is like, oh, you want to get together and do the thing and all that, and then you talk about marriage in a year. What's the point? I mean, that challenge is going to be laid on a husband. Like, where you stand with that? You good with that? Like, for real? That's the issue between you as a wife and the husband. Because that's dating. That's just, having that open marriage, if you will. That's polyamory. You're not giving him permission, but he's taking it with your knowledge, this other stuff on the side. And if you're Muslim, that's absolutely not. It's unacceptable. It's immoral. First of all, it denigrates the woman. It doesn't give the woman an honorable status. And if a woman is trying to dictate that, like, you know what, yeah, let's go ahead and just do this, and then a year we'll talk about marriage. What kind of who is wearing the pants? What? You know what I'm saying? Nah, this either you building family, building a marriage in a commitment, or you're not, or you're playing games. So that to me sounds, again, all the way back asswards. But that goes to men. Men are sophisticated yet simple. Not a whole lot of things we need and want. Not really a whole lot. But there are a number of different things that are essential for most men. All right, and respect is one of those things. And the time a man allows himself to just be disrespected or denigrated or walked on or called cuckolds or what have you, then, you probably don't want to be with something like that long term if they don't decide to man up. That's what it's called. A woman may dictate access to sex, as like Kevin Samuels would say. I mean, people say they dictate access to that. But a man is the one who dictates the condition of the relationship. We're going to get married or we're not. Like I mentioned about the prank calls. They're like, oh, my wife, you're my wife. And they fall and they melt. The man is the one that determines that. He's usually the one that proposes. It's really emasculating for a woman to do that. And I see those pictures of women proposing. I'm like, man, I mean, the only men I know that would probably like something like that is the men that don't even like women. But again, that's my opinion on that. But that's really weird and it's really weak. If you look at that building something solid, again, I talked about it. Men can be married to 15, 20, 30 women in a period of 30 months. You have to know who you're married to. So, and again, I don't know the situation. I'm just basing it on what you said right there, sis. Yeah, definitely called adultery. All right. So with that being said, if you ain't got no more questions, I'm hearing the keys coming in the locks and it's almost time to eat. So with that being said, it's been a pleasing pleasure. If you haven't already, look, we have the Polygamy Masterclass coming up this weekend. You can get details on that, find out what is included in it, get the details so far as the downloads, the audios, us broadcasting live. But if you cannot make it live, of course, it'll be in a private members area. You have a direct emails. And I have a special bonus for the men who complete the entire course of having a coaching call with me. But again, that's for the men. And the women also have different bonuses as well for those who do register before we start the first session this weekend. I do appreciate all of you, for being here, spending time. Feel free to share this information. If you have not subscribed, if you are YouTube, definitely subscribe. Or if you're not watching from YouTube or Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel because Facebook is harder. It's hard to even really deal with. But okay, so now you want to come in at the end and ask a couple questions. So look at y'all. Our website is outstanding. All right, let me put this in the comments. The Polygamy Roadmap is at polygamyroadmap.com. That's scrolling across the bottom of the screen right now. Polygamy Masterclass details can be found at polygamymasterclass.com. I think I just posted that. Polygamy. Polygamymasterclass.com. All right. So sister says, I'll put on there twice. Okay, whatever. Do you think? All right. So here's a couple questions. Sister says, if my a question statement, if my husband have two wives, it's really hard that she accepted. It could be, and I can't even say it could be. I can imagine. I can imagine that it will be. I can imagine that it will be. But at the same time, I know that the for me, I know that the benefits outweigh the emotional pain that's initially there. All right. Similarly with Coach Fatima, this is my wife. I've known her since I was 14 years. I've known her most of my life. Okay. So I was getting none of the gray hairs. Forget the gray hairs. None of this existed. Not even a little bit of little peach fuzz I had there that existed. That's how long I know her. All right. Forehead, more 5 hair right now. It's like a little forehead. I had a little more hairline going on. So I've known her for quite some time. Right. So we had got married 5 years after meeting her and stuff like that. Now it wasn't, it's my teenage years. It wasn't just, we were just all together and then we went and got married and stuff like that. We had all kind of other stuff that happened in life. It is what it is. Right. But it became Muslim and stuff. We got married. 15 years later, decided to practice polygyny. Now, was that easy? We had 6 children at the time. No, it wasn't easy. Do I expect it's going to be easy for her emotionally to go from one to no, not at all. Now, did I just not care? No, I did not care. Are you crazy? It's my family. I'm taking care of her. She ain't had to work a day in her life. You know what I'm saying? It's my responsibility. So that is that part. So we understand. We know that. That's why many men just don't tell her. They're like, I don't want to tell her that I married another wife or I'm miserable because it hurt her feelings and da 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 da. That's not the best way to go about it though. But I do understand why some of them do that. I did it myself. I married and then told her after the fact. Not good. So I'm telling you from experience and best practices, men, brothers who listening. But I can take that you're probably not. But like I mentioned earlier in the when I shared the shared marital identity, it's important to also understand some of the reasons why. All right, some of the reasons why you may feel that way, and also hold on to your personal identity. But the wives go over that a lot more in the polygamy masterclass, so they'll be able to go deep, pull out different emotions, different reasons, different ways to heal, different ways to go over and build trust back and build things all the way back on the emotional level. So I don't really coach the women there because they are the women that can relate more and help more in that area. And if you don't have it, again, get the polygamy roadmap.com. Polygamy roadmap.com is where you can get it. The ebook that we just released. How do you deal with imbalanced affection? What does this mean right here? Hania. How do I deal with the balance of affection? I don't get that. What you mean by that exactly? You can clarify that. That'd be good. Do you mean deal with imbalance of affection? Look, we don't live in the same house. So make that clear. We live close, very close proximity. Always have. I want to be able to be at one house to the next without having to worry about a vehicle or anything else. So I'll be able to get there for anything, right? 24/7. I see my wives and family every single day. We're married to 2. So I'm on a 24-hour rotation. I leave at a certain time, make sure everything's good and go from there. We have a family meeting or family council, I call it. Every weekend we get together. We are all of, everybody who still live under my roofs, if you will. Roofs, whatever you want to call it. But my entire family gets together. We share a very strategic thing that I put together about ourselves, what we're doing in personal development, how we're growing, there's a high point of the week, a low point of the week, what we're doing in our professional development, all these different types of things that we share, that we have a specific agenda every single week. Because I'm not only teaching them how to run a family meeting, but I'm also teaching them how to share and grow in business. Okay, so we structure it very intentionally every week. And then we also have a family event every week. I think the last event, we had a movie night a couple weeks ago. And then this weekend, right before the weekend, we're going to also have another family event. It's like game night. So that's that part. But outside of that, the children, mixed together and everything. We do homeschooling and so on. So there's a number of different things that we do. We go swimming. I take the boys swimming and stuff like that a couple times a week. So there's a number of different things that we do, and I do together collectively as a family. However, my households are separate. So with that being said, I'm not like all on top of one with physical affection, all on top of another with physical affection in front of each other and stuff like that. I'm cognizant and aware of different feelings and emotions in different ways and stuff like that, because they're women. Women can be funny. It is what it is. And I'm not dismissing it, but they can be wild with imaginations and assumptions and different stuff like that. You might have talked to her a little longer than me, or you were showing, you were having a conversation over here and I didn't know that, or you gave her a chocolate and I didn't. It could be any kind of little bitty thing. I mean, the things that I've heard, even experienced, is like, it's crazy. We men, we don't even think on these little things many times. But good that you asked the question. But if you did clarify, I can check real quick to see if you have before I wrap up. Whoa. Okay, so now y'all want to come in with questions. Okay, let me see. All right, hopefully I answered it because there was no other thing there. All right, so the sister says, what was this? Nahid. Well, Zada, she says, you're a good man because you give both of your wives the same rights. And you appreciate it nowadays. Men play with women and didn't marry. Look, I appreciate the compliment, but here's the thing. Yeah, men play games, women play games too. You know what I'm saying? So having the discernment to be able to choose properly is extremely important. To choose who you're going to marry is very, very important. And two of the characteristics that made the most sense to me that I was with, that both my wives possessed, is that they were serious about the Iman. They cared about Islam. All right, they cared about Islam and they were family oriented. These are two priorities and two values that I knew were important to me. So I'm not gonna, for my preferences and stuff like that, I'm not gonna marry somebody that's fronting on their deen, because minimally, the thing is, the minimal level is this: if you're gonna marry somebody and they have good morals, you don't have to worry about being oppressed. You don't have to worry about cheating and all these other type of things that happen if they have good morals, because they answer to somebody more important than you. I'm not going to oppress my wives because I will be held accountable for that. All right, that's self-checked. So my wives aren't going to oppress me, or at least they'll correct themselves if they try to oppress me or something like that, because they have to answer to some, Allah Ta'ala is higher than that. So very, very important in the choosing process, but also having the ability to recognize that men are seduced by their eyes in general, and women are seduced by their ears, the things that they hear, what a man says, and what he'll promise, and all this type of stuff. That's why it's the wisdom of making sure you have a wakil or wali, a representative that's a man there with you. Because a good man that's your representative will recognize game, because good game recognize all game. All right? For the most part. All right, it's just, it seems like less affection once he takes a second wife. Okay, you got to clarify this because I don't know what you mean. Okay. Let me see what it says about. I think there's a question mark in here. If you have a question, put question marks at the beginning so I can find them quickly before guessing. I've seen many men have two wives, but because they live in Germany, he should wonder why divorce, because the government didn't accept that. What do you think about that? There are very few Western governments that accept it, and understanding why is a whole nother story in and of itself. So the book by Dr. Nancy Cott, Harvard professor, really breaks it down why monogamy got pushed, at least in these last couple centuries, as the norm really for national white supremacist identity. Crazy, right? But yeah, whole nother level of the game. Because it protects men, and it protects them from being responsible for their pleasures, if you will. Nevertheless, give one a divorce, there's no need to really, I'm not gonna live in Germany, so I can't say what the rules and stuff are, but I know that ceremonial weddings or traditional cultural weddings, for example, that usually happen in polygyny. So a first wife may be married through the state or legally or what have you, usually because a man doesn't know rules and regulations about that, or it's just the first wife is traditional. You go get a license and everything else. And then the second wife, you can't have two at the same time in most countries, at least Western countries. So then you will have a traditional religious wedding or a cultural wedding or something like that, which was, it's fine. Again, marriage predates any country, any statutes, any codified law, anything like that. Marriage came from the creator. So before the country existed, before 400 some years ago or 200 some years ago in the US, marriage already existed. So you're going to come later and act like you are the authority on marriage. Doesn't work. At least, again, in the US. I can't speak on that situation, because if it gets a divorce and nobody's married, then they have two traditional. I know people who've done that as well. It's like, I didn't know that the state was going to get in so much stuff. So we'll just have contracts and make sure our stuff is handled this way, because contracts are going to be legal in any courts and enforceable. So we'll just have our traditional marriages. We'll have our religious ceremonies. Now I'm married 2 or 3 or 4 wives, and we have these contracts with each other. So if for some reason we can't handle it amongst ourselves and our families and stuff in our community, then we can go to courts and enforce the contract. and you could contract with someone whatever you pretty much want to contract with them, and it makes it much easier than submitting to courts laws that may be anti-Islamic or heavily leaning toward one versus the other. So I've seen that as well. Let me see. Let me see. How do you feel about sisters that want separate lives and no contact with your other family? Islamically, is it acceptable? Well, first, we do not give fatwa, but I do know that people have their own feelings about stuff. It's not best practices to not have any communication to contact, because listen, especially if you have children. All right, he's married to this woman, married to that woman, and he has a family, has children. There's inheritance laws, inheritance things that Islam has built into the Quran, regardless whether you're married by a state or not. And the state is not going to recognize or care for it anyway. So the state is not caring about what the Quran says about inheritance laws. Well, what if somebody gets arrested? What if somebody gets held up at customs, or somebody gets sick and you have a power of attorney or a living power of attorney, or somebody has to make some health decisions? Being able to have an adult relationship with another adult is a part of maturation. You should be able to be mature enough to say, you know what? We have to have this conversation relationship. That don't mean we have to be buddy and best friends like my wives, for example, have developed, but there are best practices to it. As an adult, like, why would you automatically dislike some other adult? Like, that doesn't even make any type of sense. You're just a stranger. You don't, what other part of life you just have an automatic disconnection? Now, I know this battery is flashing, so just, I got to wrap this up. If this goes black, I may fix it just so it don't look crazy, but the batteries let me know that it's dying. Hopefully that helped those sis, because that's, Islamically, yeah, you don't have to know each other. I mean, you don't have to be friends and all that stuff, but there's best practices where the Prophet ﷺ showed us. He would meet in the house of his wife that he was staying at for the night, but all his other wives and stuff would be there. So they literally had family meetings on a nightly basis when he was at one of his wife's homes. Before this battery died, let me try to see if there's any question. I think it's very, very hard to find which. All right, y'all can probably still hear me because it's just the battery from the camera. But let me change it. Oh, man. It's a good question that I'm about to answer too. Hopefully, it'll be a good answer. How long I've been on? I don't know how long I've been live, but y'all got me today. All right, let me see. All right, I don't know if I lost any of y'all, but looks like you might still be here. All right, so there's a question. The sister says, battery died. So if you didn't know when I was talking about it, that's what happened. All right, let me see. It's very, very hard. All right, here's the thing. Zaima says, I think it's very, very, very hard to find what you've created. But hey, all one can do is try. Look, I'm not going to even front. Maybe you weren't here at the very beginning, but you have to understand something. Yeah, it's very, very hard. Yeah, it's just absolutely hard to find it. We didn't find it. All right. We in year 12. So I bit my tongue for real. All right. So we're in year 12. So when I say we're in our chapter 12, it doesn't look like our first 1 through 4, for example. Okay. So this isn't found, it's built. That's what we have to understand. So it's not found, it's built. I've been involved in personal development now, year 2022, it's like 95, 96. So since 1996, I've been involved in personal development, leadership, growth, learning about all of these types of things. So what you're seeing right now is an aggregate of all of this information, these experiences, these challenges, these ups and downs. That's what you see now. You would have seen that 20 years ago. Okay. So it's built. So it's making a conscious decision and effort of being intentional and growing. That's called growth. Very, very important to understand. It's not the same. You're not going to just find it like it'll land on you. Nah. It's accumulation over time. This is small decisions on a daily basis. I talked about that lead to success versus the small decisions on a daily basis that lead to failure. So it's a process. Nevertheless, let me see. Two, what you say? We want a brother's perspective, and that's why you have the questions. Okay, good stuff, sis. She says, you're a Puerto Rican. Do you speak Spanish? My mother's Boricua. Baby español un poco, un poquito. All right, so my mother's Puerto Rican. Spanish I speak is little, so I know all the commands, the siéntase, cuéntase, cállate la boca, all that kind of stuff. So Saimba says, she was trying to say, how do you balance the affection each wife deserves and requires after polygyny? As it seems, after the second wife is added, there's less affection. Less affection for who? No, that's an assumption. All right, that's an assumption. Now, here, let me let you know something. If you're speaking from a first wife perspective, I'm gonna tell you something. If you're a first wife, I told you these are some of the mistakes men make. That's what we started with today, right? And that's what I talked about. But let me let some of you sisters know something. Put you up on something. Do not, absolutely, do not mess up your marriage. Don't mess up your affection. Don't mess up what you got going on by your mouth, by your attitude, and by being disrespectful. Because we are men, because we have emotions and we do not show them like women, you may not know that we're hurt on something. As an example, I have a client, and this is like a common thing. A lot of women speak on it and stuff. They say, you know, my husband got married to another wife. I don't want him to touch me. I don't want him to come near me. All this type of stuff. I told him I just can't, I can't, take the idea that you've been with another woman and you want to come back to me. So she's like, don't even touch me. And that. When you do something like that, you think your husband gonna forget about it? So then now when you come around and may come to your senses and start to recognize the world isn't falling and he still loves you and all this kind of stuff, how much time that takes, you could allow that to take a week or a month or 5 months or a year or, God forbid, it go longer than that. But when you finally come around and deal with that growth work internally and you come back, you think that the stuff you said out your mouth is just gonna go away. You even think that you're breaking your husband's heart at the same time just because he married somebody else don't mean his love for you disappeared. His love simply expanded. But if you disrespect that man, if you disrespect him, if you wield your tongue as a sword and strike at his heart, if you do that, do not be surprised. Do not be surprised if things change. All right? And I'm letting you know that because I've already spoken to brothers. I already know how stuff go. I know how that stuff will go. So I'm telling you, when it's like, I don't even want him to touch me anymore. I can't believe, I just feel dirty. And these types of things, and you expressing that to him, and you behaving that way toward him, you want to hug and you want to move back. Be careful. Don't destroy and be the ruin of your own marriage and then try to blame polygyny. Many times, polygyny is a form of marriage. You can't just blame marriage for the failure of marriage. It's like over 50% of marriage is going to fail anyway. So it's highly likely if you are married, the stats are against you. Monogamy or polygyny. But does that mean we don't try? Does it mean we don't work? Because those who are successful tend to work at it. They want it. They're going and moving the same way together. Do not destroy your marriage with your tongue. That can happen, and it does happen. And sometimes women sit back, and your husband's not going to tell you, I was hurt because you had said this. What you said really hurt my feelings and made me feel a certain way. It was emasculating to me. This woman that I'm married to going to go and say this kind of crazy stuff. When if it was a dude, I'd whoop him. If it was a man came at me like that, it'd be a problem. But I'm not going to do that to you. So I allowed you to go ahead and do that and emasculate me. But then at the same time, you want me to be attracted to you and go ahead and fulfill your rights. It don't work like that, baby. Nope. Men, sex isn't here. Women ain't got to worry about that. You can be ready, not ready, whatever. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to get all da. No, just the way we built biologically speaking is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about, doing something you don't want to do. I'm just saying that men have to get ready. You have to get prepared. Blood needs to pump to that specific area. And that comes from excitement up here in your brain as a man. So sometimes people think that, oh, yeah, this don't work half the time. 50% of men, it ain't that it don't work half the time. This man is thinking about all this junk that you done said to him, all this disrespect, all this wielding of a sword that came from your tongue. And he like, what the hell? I don't care how fine you are. Being disrespected, emasculated is not attractive. It's a thought. It's a thought. Think on that, sisters. I'm telling you, that will help save some of your marriages right now. Chain that damn tongue. All right, anyway. Now, I don't know if that's the situation right there, but affection should not slow down. It shouldn't happen. But I know that when it does, one of the culprits is what happens and what's being said to that man after polygyny. And she hasn't asked for forgiveness for that. She puts him, tried to guilt trip a man, and you try to use his guilt against him for so long, and you do all these types of things to him and think that's just going to be okay. And can snowball. Again, not that that's the case, but many times it is the case. All right, and I'm talking to brothers constantly about that. So prayerfully, y'all heed that. All right, sister says, she's like, you're taking a second wife. The things that I got are now less. Less words of affirmation, less I love you, less physical touch. How do you deal with that? Okay. Seems like in taking a second wife, this would be a better question addressed to, at least nothing, to Coach. Well, whatever. She ain't been part of this whole thing, so I'm not going to ask her to come in now. I agree. All right. It would be better addressed to Coach Fatimah, but she does. I believe they address that. Well, look, if first of all, if y'all not in the community, like in our private community at OPR community.com, that's where you can get the invitation, what it is about and stuff like that. It's a whole free thing to join. Then of course we have the Kings and Queens section, which is a paid section where we go deeper with our members. But get in our community because we have these discussions. We talk a lot deeper. We go over all kinds of things and bring it to a whole nother level. All right, so get there. That's all I'm gonna say. All right, join the community. Oh man, I don't know how long have I been here? Man, an hour and 20 minutes. I'm tripping. It's supposed to be like a 30-minute thing. I'm going too long, but y'all asked some good questions, so appreciate that. So she says, less words of affirmation, less I love you, physical touch. How do you deal with that? One is to communicate. What's going on? You know what I'm saying? How can I be better? Have you taken the quizzes? You know, have you found out what your core values are? That's another reason you want to join the community. You know why? Because we have a whole core values exercise you can take in there, and you can take it, find out what your actual core values are, not by guess or hypothesis and all that, what the theory is. Find out what your core values are. Boom. Give them to your spouse. Get theirs. Understand it. Talk amongst each other. I didn't know that. I see this. Or I could spend more time, pumping this one up, or I make sure I don't violate this one. Find out what your core values are. Have you taken any different personality tests? Find out your personality type. One famous one is the MBTI, Myers-Briggs typology indicator. Again, links and all this stuff is in our community. So let me put on the bottom of the screen to show you where to join our community. All right. But go there, but you have to have some communication. All right. So you'll be able to build back up what was lost or what may be missing or so on and so forth. Find out what resentment, ask for forgiveness. That's a big one. Ask for forgiveness so that load can be lifted. Very, very important. All right, let me see where we at. And I got a few minutes because that's it. It's literally a wrap. It's going to be a wrap. Well, not literally a wrap, but you know what I'm saying. All right, let me see where we at. All right, whoa. So now y'all coming in with the questions. Can you teach how to sustain a community economically? Also, who is this from? Adel L. All right, listen. This weekend I started Polygamy Masterclass. My 5th session is all about that. My 5th session is, it's all about finances, raising your financial IQ. Our sister says, what will you do if you live in Germany if you're not allowed to have 2 wives? Any tips that other persons followed? I don't care. With all due respect, al-wala wa bara is a concept or principle that Muslims follow in Islam. It's loyalty and allegiance is to Islam. All right, so the one who created the planet or the earth and everything within it, actually the al-Khaliq, the creator period, is the same one who said you can marry 2 or 3 or 4. So me personally as an individual, anyone could say you could not have 2 wives. I don't care what they say. See, there's no disobedience to the creator and obedience to the creation. So I would simply marry ceremonially or religiously, where it's not on the books, but at the same time, give them their rights and have contracts. Because guess what's not illegal? Having girlfriends, having mistresses, having jump downs, having bust downs, whatever you want to call them. It's not illegal, right? Not at all. It's absolutely fine in Germany. I don't care if you have 50 girlfriends or 100 girlfriends. They are not going to make that illegal. But Islam says, yeah, that's illegal. That's a sin. That's taking away the honor of men and women and the sanctity of family and the honor of children knowing their parents and inheritance and all of that. It's a major sin. It's a crime. Do they care about that? No, they don't. But the one who created me, the one who I'm going to return to, whose earth that I live on with these artificial borders that are made by men, does care. So that law to me is the law that's supreme. Now that keeps me self-checked. That means I'm not going to harm or try to oppress anybody or anything else. Whereas if I don't have that moral code in place, it's all about me and my instinct to survive. I got to get mine, so I'm going to take yours. Or how the song really goes, I got to get mine, you got to get yours. There's a difference. So it doesn't matter to me what a country says on something, the same country, or come on, okay? let's talk about, I'm not going to go into your whole political background in Germany and what was legal and how Nazis came up and Hitler was, elected as part of his whole campaign and what he did. That was absolutely legal, wasn't it? Slavery was absolutely legal, wasn't it? Chattel slavery, right? The rape of women, the killing of babies, the torturing of individuals, the Killing Act to protect white women who killed little black babies and fed them to alligators or, lied on people like Emmett Till. It was absolutely okay and legal. All of that's immoral. So my law trumps their law. That's how I see it. That's my personal opinion, of course. Can you teach brothers how to self-sustain? A large chin community also. We'll talk in the polygamy masterclass. This is not, this right here, this is just being broadcast right now, free and in the community. Baba Oni says, I think it's Oni, is how you pronounce it, good brother. Thank you for these insights. What do you think about equity when the husband works in a specific city with the first wife and the other wife lives in another city? I think that you have to make what arrangements work best for the family, have whatever agreements are applicable. I know some brothers who work in different cities and right across even state lines, and he spends 2 weeks in one location, 2 weeks in another location, or some do a month in a month. They do on and off. I know one other brother that's 2 different countries and just dealing with immigration is a beast. Spends a whole lot of money trying to get one in the country, but he goes out the country for a couple months, comes back in the country. That's not easy. But you have to work on whatever agreement works, you know what I'm saying? But understanding that they have a right, they have absolute right to fairness. And that's a part of the man's responsibility. It's not easy, but if you signed up for that, or if one is refusing to move to another city for whatever reason, it's different. But again, we don't, make fatwa, and I'm not giving a fatwa. But I absolutely encourage as best practices that communication. Very, very important. So I was talking about this question. I thought I had it on the screen. It says, thank you for these insights. What do you think about equity when the husband works in a specific city with the first wife and the other wife lives in another city? The other part, I guess, on that question is that he's working with the first wife. All right. So you spend more time together, clearly, if you're working with someone, but the time that matters is the time that you're spending intimately alone, at home, or what's called the nights belong to the wife, if that makes sense. All right. How can that's not okay? All right. So the brother's clarifying this question. He says, "Assalamu alaikum. How mosque communities can be self-sustaining. That's not my area of expertise, so I have to remain silent on that one and just let you know about enterprising and building as a family for generations, which is what we will cover in week 5 of the men's polygamy masterclass. Allahumma ameen. What would be good practice in a situation when man only has weekends off? Well, again, there's many variables that there's not enough information. I mean, if he has weekends off in their different cities, maybe one week is going to go at one house and the next weekend is going to go at the other house. But again, what makes the most sense of what's easiest in the situation will be the first thing to explore. But I would suggest the best practice would be to have an income stream coming that's passive to allow him more time to spend with his family. That's not a good time anyway. Just only got weekends off. I'm pro financial freedom versus working for someone else. Even if you're working for yourself, you can be working hard, but you sit around your family and you choose your hours and stuff like that. But important delegation and being able to make sure you have things in place for your family. See, for me, for example, it's important to make sure that when I'm gone, my family's still taken care of. So I just want to provide when I'm here. Now I'm gone. Now stuff falls apart. I want to make sure prayerfully, bidin Allah, that when I'm gone, things continue to go for generations. That for children that I will never meet until Yom Qiyamah, inshallah ta'ala in Jannah, that they have been taken care of. And they know that when their family became Muslims again, they know things that were already put in place for them. They can look up and see YouTube videos and different things that I'm teaching them about for their marriages and business and so on and so forth. Because now we live in an age where this is the first time that's ever been available in history. I don't even know my great-great-grandparents. That's not that far from me. But to know that 5, 6, 10 generations, whatever technology will be at that time, they still should be able to access this information. I'll be long gone, but inshallah ta'ala, being able to have some righteous child, a grandchild, a great-great-grandchild, or whatever, pray for me and still get those barakah is amazing to me. So working on that type of vision, meaning that I have to do a whole lot more and become a whole lot more astute in certain areas. And one of those areas is finances, because as a Muslim, 2 things are going to affect you more than anything else: money and your morals. So you get a foundation with the deen, make sure that's straight, everything else falls into place. But then money is going to affect and impact everything else also. It impacts how much you give in charity, it impacts on whether or not you're able to go to Hajj, it impacts your family, it impacts your debt, and there's du'as against debt. So learning and mastering these two skills, or these two things, if you will, are imperative to life. That's an ongoing study. So if right now you only have weekends off, maybe you're earning your career. I don't know, maybe you're a truck driver. I don't know. But whatever it is, increase your aptitude in this area so you can do the things that you want to do. Not only stuck with doing the things you have to do. Hopefully that helped, bro. But again, we got a polygamy masterclass coming up starting this weekend. Register for it. Are there any discounts for imams? No. Which country do you live in? I am from the Midwest in America. They're allowed to have two. Okay. Which country do you live in? That you are allowed to have two eyes. I'm really interested to know. Listen. Like I mentioned, well, maybe this question was before I just answered the other question. I don't care what country I live in. I don't care. If Allah Ta'ala says something, who does the creation, the slave, think he is to legislate anything against that? I will still have two eyes. This is what it is. And Allah Ta'ala knows best. I'm saying that I was still married to two eyes if I wasn't married to two eyes. The country, my allegiance, when I pray, I say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu. That's my allegiance. Okay? That must be understood. You got to understand, I came from kufr to Islam. I was a Christian, born and raised into a Christian family in America, Christian school, Christian high school, all this type of stuff, pledge allegiance and all that kind of stuff. The whole national anthem, all of these different things were ingrained in me as a social construct, and I had to rip off beliefs to get to the haqq. And I came away with the shahada. So it matters to me not what a country, a man-made thing, thinks about polygyny. All right? Similarly, I don't care what a country thinks about other types of same-sex relationships. Just because a country now says, hey, this is legal and you can do this and you can do that, does that change now how I think and how I feel about it? Does it change how you think and you feel about it? Does it matter of fact, does it change how the masses think about it? I don't even come to this issue from a religious perspective. And the reason I don't is because you may not believe in the Quran. You may not believe in the Bible. I don't believe in the Bible anymore. You know what I'm saying? You may not believe in the scripture. That's true. You may not believe in any scriptures. So what's the point of arguing in scripture? I would simply say if everybody does it, if everybody was in a same-sex relationship, humanity's done in one generation. It's over. It's a wrap for us. So based on that basic information, it's bad. That's my perspective. So I don't care what a country says with relation to that they allow me to live somewhere. I'm from the U.S. People say, oh, it's not legal in the U.S. and all this kind of stuff. Listen, if you have a television, you ever looked on TLC, Lifetime, this show's called like Polygamy, Big Love, 3 Wives, 1 Husband, Sister Wife, Seeking Sister Wife, all of that, all these polygamy shows on American TV, and you worried about talking about something's illegal? Really? Do you really think there's white vans or black vans going around jumping out talking about what's your marriage status? You polygamy? Really? Is that what it is? Is that going to be your next episode of Cops? So please go on with that. There's a big difference between lawful and legal. If you want to know the difference, look up Black's Law Dictionary. It'll break it down for you. Anyway, let me continue really quick. I'm supposed to be gone, but I'm having a good time. All right. Alhamdulillah, I have a wonderful husband, and my co-wife is a blessing. However, I think finding balance is hard. Alhamdulillah, definitely, congratulations. My group have a wonderful husband and co-wife is indeed a blessing. However, I think finding balance, it is hard. It is difficult. It takes trying to find out. It takes growth to really find out where that middle ground is, where having that balance is. It's not easy, but it's worth it. It's not easy, but it's worth it. It just means some more growth is needed to be able to have it, to be able to grow on it and everything. Again, you're looking at a year 12, even though it's just me sitting here, but with my wives and our family and stuff. You're looking at year 12 right now. Look, I couldn't teach you anything in year 1, 2, 3, or 4, not regarding polygyny. I was trying to figure this stuff out. So thankfully, we're able to reverse engineer some stuff and to go ahead and build and share with you right now. So yeah, I gotta go because the time is going, and I'm cognizant that I have to spend some time with my wife before I switch. I do wish there's more communication because something group. We'll do for man because otherwise, first wife, not the second wife. Excuse me. Okay, it's possible she's not emotionally intelligent enough to make sure she still has affection. There's all right. Okay. I wish I could get into this. All right, listen. If y'all want to continue these conversations, there's some questions I can't answer because they'll take too long, and I'm already past my limit. This hour and 34-minute thing went way beyond what I expected. We can go to the website to join. Yes, you can go to polygamymasterclass.com to join. What advice would you give 21-year-old man plans to pursue polygyny in the future? I say get the polygamy roadmap. Get the polygamy roadmap. It's for men and for women, $7. It's our new ebook that's out. That it can really, really help with knowing the prerequisites or the requisites and move forward. All right. I like to at least read them before I'm done with them. But if you want to continue the conversation, you can post these questions in the in our personal community, and we go over it in more detail. Matter of fact, this video is going to be in our community in different sections and stuff like that. We can be discussing things in more detail where you ain't dealing with trolls. And thankfully, there ain't no trolls and all this stuff here today, right now. But I'm sure, after it posting is up for a minute, trolls going to come out. Was not doing well. Alhamdulillah. That's excellent. That's definitely good to hear, Hania. Yadin, what if you choose to keep your wives together in the same roof in a house built for multiple families? Look, my wife said we could live under the same roof if the roof was big enough, live in different wings and stuff like that. All right, getting our book. Yo, man, join the community because the book, we almost ready to go ahead and finally finalize this release, but to get the details, be on the email list or join the community. All right, with that being said, look, I appreciate it, y'all. Remember, a wish changes nothing, but a decision changes everything. And strive to be outstanding. Really, strive to be outstanding. Forget being average. Forget being like everybody else. Rise above the trivial many. Because they ain't even trying. Rise above the trivial many. Nobody said average was okay. Average nothing but the top of the bottom or the bottom of the top. So be outstanding. With that being said, I'm out. Appreciate you being here. Catch me in the Polygamy Masterclass this weekend. Catch my wives in it. And make sure you download the Polygamy Roadmap at polygamyroadmap.com. With that, I'm out. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace.